Welcome please to the JVG podcast, where these G's are gonna spread their seeds of knowledge about the league. It's flourishing with these. These funny catchers seem to be well read, esteemed and honest. Like the man himself, Jeff Van Gundy. They are high IQ, so cerebral and funny. So if you're on the bus, just border on the dunny. Listen to the
JVG NBA Tribute Show.
And welcome back.
Welcome back
To episode
117
It is
of
the Jeff Van Gundy Tribute Show. I'm your co-host Lucas, joined as always by my co-host Marco.
Hey Lucas.
How you going, Marco?
It's a bit of a welcome back moment, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, kind of. Why?
Well, if people listen to this podcast before, they're listening to it again.
Oh yeah. Welcome back.
We've also seen you a lot over the last 24 hours.
So much. Let's talk. Let's just talk about like the mood right now.
Yeah, alright. So basically,
hungover.
What's going on with me? You know when I think it happens after you have a big night, in particular, and you get like a particular thing stuck in your head, like a song lyric or like a YouTube quote or like something from a movie or whatever. So it's often some dumb shit, a podcast,
A list.
So what I've had stuck in my head is it's a friend of the pod and co-host of the Deep 2 NBA podcast.
Can I guess which co-host?
Yeah.
Sean.
Yeah. You guessed correctly.
Yeah.
It's him going, and I got that old thing.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's you going, he got that old thing.
Did we do that?
I think you did that once, and it's just like fucking wormed itself into my brain.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, you kind of like hype man him afterwards, and you're like, yeah, he got that old thing.
Oh yeah, that kind of slaps me.
But like, it's not a real thing.
Yeah, no.
It shouldn't be stuck in my head.
No, that old thing and like kid named etc.
Yeah. Kid named etc.
Like we've completely. I don't know how this bit developed to the place that it developed to.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just kind of in on it.
Yeah.
But I couldn't explain. None of us could explain what it means.
And I should have prefaced what I just said with being like, this is going to be just so uninteresting to everyone listening.
It's okay. It only took, 30, 40, 50 seconds.
But talking about how I got a freaking in-joke stuck in my head like it was a freaking... Are you staring at my...
No, I'm just staring at the shirt. There's so much going on.
Oh, yeah. So my mum got me this from Japan.
From Tacoma? Or Fuji?
Well, it's like... it's like a record label t-shirt, but the record label doesn't exist.
Anymore? Or
no,
ever?
Ever. It's fake.
Oh, so it's just like a brand.
Yeah.
That
But
poses
it's like
as
a
record
one-off,
company.
I guess. You know?
Oh, well, I guess then. That'd be a cool record company.
Yeah. They got offices in Tokyo,
Addis Ababa,
and New York.
New York.
Those are probably 3 of my top 10 cities.
Really? Addis Ababa?
Nah.
You just learned of it.
Never been there.
Yeah.
It's Ethiopia.
I don't know.
Straight from Ethiopia. So yeah, well, Lucas, why are we like we are right now?
Yeah, we just like drank heavily. What do you want me to say? That's it.
Moving on.
Get to the
Moving
fucking
on.
meat and bones of it. But it is a
Moving
basketball
on.
podcast.
It is a
after all.
basketball podcast, and we should probably talk about some freaking basketball.
Yeah.
We're hitting We're hitting the beginning of week 3 of the NBA season,
Yeah.
so it's still nascent. But we're starting to get a bit of a clear picture of what's going on here. You know.
What's going on?
For everyone being like, it's only week 3 of the season. It's fine that the Lakers and the Nets have only won 3 basketball games before them. That's the last time I'm going to say the B and the L word. Wait, the N and the L word. But I think the teams that we sort of should be seeing the biggest jump from, or that we should be starting to get an idea of how things are going, the teams that have made some blockbuster trades this offseason.
Yeah.
And we're going to focus on the 3 teams that are involved in the Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert trades.
Yep.
Being the Utah Jazz, who gave everything, gave their big superstars away, got every pick in the universe, and a couple of handy players that we might mention when we get to them.
I'm excited for that.
The Cleveland Cavaliers, who got, of course, Donovan Mitchell, and Minnesota Timberwolves, who received Rudy Gobert to go next to Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah. Lovely. And then we're also going to talk about... we might touch on the Atlanta Hawks.
Yeah.
So that's on the agenda
Yeah,
today.
they also made give up a lot of picks for another superstar.
Type B.
Type B, exactly right.
I think we should start with the Jazz.
Yeah.
So I think that I might have mentioned this on the pod, but all three entities benefited from the past off-season, being Gobert, Mitchell, and the organization, the Utah Jazz. The relationship and just the whole vibe, the whole picture, the broader picture, was just soured. And it seemed like they weren't able to rehabilitate the situation. And in allowing their players to, compete, quote unquote, they've also completely opened up their next few years. And in starting the season so well, now, as a Wizards fan, I had a first row seat to such a situation last season when we came out of that off season having finally gotten after one season, but having gotten rid of Russell Westbrook, and then we started the season off really strong with all these nice young pieces, but then quickly soon after found out how limiting it can be to just have like nice role players. However, from an organization and a team building point, the Utah Jazz are in like a really great position, and their early success feels repeatable, and it feels like you could really just like slide a superstar in or a star in pretty seamlessly.
Yeah, and I think obviously the difference between the situation the Wizards were in last year and this situation is like there isn't this expectation to compete. Like now, even though they are doing really well with what they got, I don't think anyone in Utah is being like, oh, this is the core that's going to take us to the championship. Like there's still players that are going to go for picks, and they'll I'm sure Larry Markkinen will probably have some sort of hamstring trouble after the All-Star break or something like that. The All-Star starter, and they'll try and get, one of the good pedigrees in this draft. There's a nice French guy down there, I think. But yeah, you're right. Like they have the assets, they have the role players that, I don't think it's one player. I think it's probably two. If we're going to take this roster and be like, all right, how do you win a championship with this roster? Like there's probably two more guys you need.
Oh yeah. I think 3.
Yeah.
You need to like maybe add 1 or 2 and then trade for 1 or 2.
Yeah. But let's talk about Larry Markkinen, because I think he's the most interesting part, kind of the most interesting result of this trade, because he was really in the trade with Cleveland. Obviously, he's still 25 or however old he is. And has a lot to offer a team. No tongue in cheek there.
Yeah, we can actually name the skills he can bring to a team.
But like he was really there as like salary.
Yeah.
Like he was really there as, okay, this is like a pretty good young guy. Like he hasn't really found his place in the league. Maybe you can find some value for him. Also, we need to get rid of $35 million.
Yeah.
But he has just turned out to be like by far the best player on this roster.
Yeah.
The guy they go to late down in the stretch. It's sort of like diversifying his game a lot. Like he's not just catch and shooting threes. Like he's getting little opportunities to create for himself. And his defense has actually been better than I've ever seen him. They played the Memphis Grizzlies today. You won't be surprised at this stage to hear that they won. And I think he had 3 blocks in Ja Morant in one quarter. And they're all just like, Ja sees him sitting under the rim in the paint. He's like, oh, okay, I'm super athletic. I know what centers, I know what European, 7-foot tall European men are usually like when I charge at them. And all Larry had to do was like stand there and put his arms up, and he would block Ja. So really, I'm not trying to make the case for him being a good defender, but if you're like improving your offensive skill set, your offensive output, and you're fine on defense, like that's just leagues above the Larry Markkinen I think we've seen, especially in the last few years.
Yeah, and more broadly, the Jazz, the way they've built this roster, all of their young and unproven players are still coming off the bench. They're not prioritizing they're not prioritizing their youth. They still have this like hierarchy. It's like, okay, we might be going into the season, we might be one of the worst teams in the league. or one of the most shallow teams in the league, but we're going to start our best players, and I think that the biggest example of that is Jordan Clarkson starting after having been sixth player of the year
and also there's literally 3 guys under the age of 25 on this roster who under the age of 24 I think even who probably should be playing.
Yeah.
If you were prioritizing development, you'd be starting them over him.
Yeah. They got the off-brand Michael Porter Jr. in Micah Potter.
First time hearing of it.
First time listener. So as we've both touched on. There's still like a... I think that... I'm going to mention it again, but I hate using the word culture when we're talking about sports clubs. But I think that the way that they're building this roster, they're really embedding good values that they've had, over the past 5 to 8 years.
Yeah, definitely.
They're maintaining that identity of them. They're showing the players coming in we love what you're bringing, but this is who Utah is, and this is how you guys are going to fit in, and I think that's a really good thing. But we got to talk about marketing, man, as you have, but I think the whole difference is confidence. That's straight up. That's all it is. Because I feel like he's made highlights in the past and he's gone on good stretches with Cleveland. I feel like on the other side of it now, we see that he just had a willingness to accept a role, which he's building a really good resume for himself. Okay, cool. So I can accept this role in certain situations, but then if you want to give me the ball, I'm happy to carry quite a big offensive load. But I just think the main thing is confidence, and he just looks fearless. I think the biggest thing for me has been on drives and in transition. He does not look like a 7-footer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
you forget his handle is actually so developed for someone of that size. I think because he just had this reputation as he's just a spot up 3-point shooter, you know, who happens to be 7 feet tall. And the combo of players that they have around him, their front court of Vando, Lowry, and Kelly Olynyk, who's only 1 year older than Jordan Clarkson. I'm just finding out for the first time today.
Live on air.
There's a lot of complementary skills there, Vando's obviously shouldering a lot of the defensive load. He's really switchy. Really, really good rebounder. He's just been, between him and Lowry, there's just you got a really solid shout for an O board. On any possession. And then, Kelly Olynyk's just that sort of that veteran presence in center. Do you think, is there a bit of a mistake here maybe in, what do you think the best actual path for Utah is? Is it just keep playing like this, ride these good vibes, but is there a point where they have to say, okay, we should probably tank this season? Do you think?
I think that I don't really trust teams that tank. I feel like the Thunder are doing it in a really obvious, but also an obviously good way. But I just think that if you're a team that's so I think the Process 76ers are a good example of it, because they were a tanking team. And then, even for the first few seasons of Embiid's career, it was still a tanking team. Even when they got the guy, it was still a tanking team and a tanking situation. So I think I don't think it's a really good. I don't think it's a good route. I think that getting a once in a generation player is always a great. It's a great strategy. But you can't bank on getting the first overall pick, and you can't bank on getting a once in a generational player. And also, got to bring up mindset. That's such a loser's mindset. And I think that they've had success since I've followed the NBA. The Jazz have they had this team with in the 2000s of Carlos Boozer, AK-47, Mameo Kua, Deron Williams, which kicked onto a 1 or 2 year bounce back where they got Gordon Hayward, Enes Kanter, may he rest in peace. And then that turned into or developed into the Gobert Mitchell era.
Yeah.
So the team has always been, I guess a winning team, or they've never really looked at like rebuilding completely. It's more like a pivot.
Yeah, it's like, where did they draft Mitchell? Like in the low teens, was it? And Gobert was sort of a similar position as well. Yeah, like there's those teams that don't want to commit to like the full rebuild build.
Yeah.
I would say though, like, the Indiana Pacers have been towing this line for the last 10 years. And they got really lucky by fleecing the Sacramento Kings for, who Tyrese Halliburton really should have been like a top 5 lottery pick.
Yeah.
In terms of like what he's offering in the league right now. So I guess there is potentially that issue. I'm going to come back around and disprove this point myself.
Here we go.
But like you look at the Detroit Pistons and the Orlando Magic and the Houston Rockets, and it's like, okay, they've got like 2 or 3, they have 1 or 2 top 5, and then 2 or 3 top 15 like lottery picks who actually look like really good basketball players. You know, who like are really living up to their potential, even 10 games into this season, like looking at Paolo and we watched Jabari Smith Jr. today, actually, like didn't touch the ball. Yeah. But he is good. So I guess there is that thing where it's like, okay, if you're not willing to bottom out, like it's going to be more difficult to get. You might get one of those players, like sort of a bit later in the draft, but it's going to be harder to sort of assertively get 2 or 3.
Yeah.
However, I mean, this team has Larry Markkinen, who's 25 years old, is coming into his own. Like, they have Colin Sexton, who we know can be like sort of like a borderline all-star guard. I think that's sort of like his maximum potential. So maybe you do just need like one more draft prospect like that, turn all your assets into another trade, maybe get someone in free agency, rather than just bottom out completely. So yeah, I like that idea that Utah, as a franchise, they're not tanking. They turn around so quickly as it is that they sort of like trust that they can do that again.
Yeah, and like I can believe that if Utah want to like reboot a contender or just a good basketball team next season, that they can do that. I don't think the Magic can do that in the next 5 years. If they get Victor Wembanyama, they still have 15 players on a roster who've never had to win a basketball game. Yeah. So then they have to learn how to win a basketball game.
Man, if they have Victor Wembanyama though, like their front court is like 3 fucking like zag talents who can all handle the ball, and one of them is the biggest prospect since Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, it would be great.
Yeah,
for sure it would be great.
Yeah,
but
I take your point.
If in the 23-24 season the Jazz want to make the playoffs, I trust that they will. Yeah. Like if they want to make that pivot, but then if the Magic want to, it's like, all right, fucking relax. You can't you can't like roll out 20-win season after 20-win season.
You need to win 35 games before you win 45 games.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which you haven't proven you can do.
Start of this season they're 1-6. Last season 22-60. Season before that 21-41. Season before that 33-40.
Yeah. I was, and that's before they were, that's when they had Vooch and Aaron Gordon and Evan Fournier, may he rest in peace, on their roster.
Yeah.
What was it? I wanted to say something else about the Jazz. What you sort of said at the beginning about the kind of stink of that era of the Jazz, of the Gobert Mitchell thing. Man, it's just washed off every single player.
Overnight. Every entity. The Jazz as well. I thought that I hated the Jazz and I just hated the situation.
Yeah. Like Jordan Clarkson been really, really good. Bojan Bogdanovic has been smoking it in Detroit. They just gave him a 2 for 38 extension, I think, which, okay, I'm not going to comment on that. I don't really know the validity of that. But yeah, if you have someone who's playing well and playing well next to your young players, like we've spoken about this before. It's all well and good to have a Cade Cunningham who can dish the rock like it's freaking Thanksgiving dinner. Exactly right. But there's like no point having him who can do that if there's not someone who can hit the shots on the end of his passes.
Yeah.
So it's like, all these Jazz players just going other places and you're like, oh, I like them again.
Yeah.
And I like the Jazz.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, those Bogdanovich deals, I feel like happen very often. I feel like Adams has been a benefit of it a few times. Where like a team will get a player and then just immediately extend them after like a couple of games. There's would definitely be stuff behind the scenes that we don't see.
Yeah.
That would be a part of them signing these contracts.
I don't think the 2 for 40 for Steven Adams was a David Griffin 4-day chess move.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, I think you said it, like having success with a young group. Bogdanovich can be a leader that exactly what we were talking about before with the Magic.
Yeah.
Like who's the leader there? You could not tell you, but I feel like it's just a steady figure who's like had a very good NBA career so far, and just helped guide the talent that the Pistons do have.
Yeah, and like on the Jazz, you didn't think of Bojan as like a leader really. You know, like he was the fourth guy there kind of. And he was just there to play like a very particular scoring role, like as a starter. Don't get me wrong, but like I watched the end of the Bucks Pistons game today. Every time out, Bojan Bogdanovic was just like giving it to Isaiah Stewart. Like he was just like telling him exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Like for the entire 60 seconds is how long a timeout actually goes for. That's the leadership thing. Oh god, yeah. I'm just some of the end of my sentences aren't coming out very well, are they?
No, not at all. So why don't we go to the other two teams, the Cavs and the T-Wolves? Yeah. Let's go to the Cavs.
Yeah.
Because
it's a happier picture there.
Yeah. The Cavs are currently. Do they play today? Or are they still 5-1?
No, they didn't play today, I don't think.
So they're 5-1. Sorry, Basketball Reference hasn't updated. Darius Garland has been out. I feel like he played one game potentially.
Yeah, well, he played one game, got poked in the eye.
Yeah, an eye contusion.
Yeah. The dreaded eye contusion. Is it? Yeah, it is just one. Yeah, so he's only played 13 minutes of basketball this year.
Yeah, and they've looked really good. Donovan Mitchell has looked incredible. It feels like he's, and I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but it feels as though his production and output is like it's similar to seasons past, and it's not at all. He's scoring so much more,
and he's assisting so much more.
Yeah, and like that, obviously those will drop when Garland gets back. But the thing that I've like stood out to me, it feels like he's playing down a speed or two from what I was like used to him playing in, or the speed he was playing at Utah. And yeah, just the game looks easier for him. I'm sure that would be because of the people he shares, the players he shares the court with. But I haven't seen him break a sweat yet.
Yeah, not at all. That's just the pace that the Cavs play with. And there's no, and I think that this is the thing is, I don't think there was ever. We'll get later in the season, like, okay, what's this going to look like defensively when you have Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, and maybe even Karis LeVert on a bad night, you know, all on the perimeter together.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's any questions about how Donovan Mitchell would fit on any team in this league.
Yeah.
Like, he's a complete plug-and-play offensive player who can sort of do whatever you need him to do. Like, and obviously with Garland out, he's just had to step up on playmaking duty so much. So 32-7 that's his points and assists averages at the moment. It's just they're just playing the same basketball they were last season, but they've got Donovan Mitchell in the team. I don't think it's really more complicated than that. Similar to last season, at the moment they got the second best defensive rating in the league. Not similar to last season, they have the sixth best offensive rating. So it's just so clearly addressing all the problems that they had last season. And Donovan Mitchell is just the sort of player who fits next to anyone.
Yeah. Also, his career averages are really nice.
Yeah.
24, 4, and 4. That's a pretty.
That's a shooting guard's.
Yeah, like an all-time great shooting guard's career averages. Obviously, he has to do it for more than 5 seasons, but let's let bygones be bygones. I feel like the Jazz team that Mitchell and Gobert were on, I feel like it was really... Sorry, let me start by saying, in Cleveland, it feels like Donovan Mitchell is a part of a system. Whereas at the Jazz, I feel like all of the players played their role.
Yeah.
Like, it was more reliant on the assets being used in a specific way rather than being inserted into a system.
Yeah.
Which I think goes back to like how good of a coach Quinn Snyder was, but also how limiting that is. But then that also might be down to like poor roster construction by the Jazz.
Yeah, well, I think so. Like, if you compare it to this Cavs roster where, like, your four... Let's say three of your top four players, because I think Darius Garland, awesome guy, but, like, you know, he's a point guard. Like, he's a diminutive point guard.
Yeah.
But, like, Donovan Mitchell, we've just spoken about him, but Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen they're so versatile. You know what I mean? Like, Mobley is one of those players who every night you watch him, you're like, oh, I forgot he can do that.
Yeah.
You know, I forgot he can play make. I forgot he can kind of like spot up in the corner. I forgot when you're late in the shot clock, like he can kind of, you know, get like a nice post fadeaway or a post hook or something like that. Certain things like that. And then obviously just fucking so good on defense in every single way. And then Jarrett Allen, you know, obviously he is this very prototypical center, but you're right. It's not like he has to play like Jarrett Allen night in, night out. Like when you're playing two bigs like that, like you're going to be shouldering different responsibilities depending on the assignment. So I think just like, even from your top three players, it's not like with the Jazz where it's like, okay, Rudy Gobert, he's a defensive center. You know, like he has to sit in the hole and do this. Bojan Bogdanovic, we're just going to play him as this sort of like, you know, three-way spot-up scorer. Mike Conley, he's a defensive point guard who we just need to like initiate the offense a bit for Donovan Mitchell. There's just a lot more variety, I think, here.
Yeah. Man, I gotta be honest, we're building quite a nice narrative in this episode. Yeah. So Donovan Mitchell, his rookie season was the 17-18 season. In his career, his win-loss records have gone as follows from rookie season to most recent season at the Jazz: 48-34, 50-32, 44-28, 52-20, 49-33. So he has had 2 seasons below 60% win percentage, and they were 58.5 and 59.8, so 60%. And yeah, he came into the league and was immediately in a winning situation. So he was able to like use that. He was able to bring that over to Cleveland, and that's why they've had such a hot start. And let's use the bloody Philly Sixers as the other, like, as the contrast to that. They're 4-4. They've had a lot of those losses with Embiid, and most of those wins without him. And to start a season,
50% of them actually.
To start a season, just rolling out of last season, surely the Sixers are the team at the top of the Eastern Conference. And they aren't. And I feel like as though that comes back to Embiid, like not learning how to win until a few years into his career. And like, I don't know, I just think that it matters that like the first few years of his career, it was acceptable to be a loser.
Yeah. Now, I think I'm getting too narrative-y here.
Let's do it.
Let's fucking do it. Since Embiid's been good, it's been like, all right, he's an MVP candidate, right? And fucking that's all the focus is for him. He's like, okay, I'm trying to, you know, I think I'm going to win the MVP this season. Donovan Mitchell, I want to say he's never been an all-star starter. But, you know...
I would say he hasn't been, but without checking.
Just given the fucking depth of, you know, of guards in the West. Like, that Steph Curry guy usually gets in. And then... So he's just been kind of quietly being a really, really good shooting guard on a really good team. So the focus for him has never been like personal accolades. It's been like winning. It's been winning basketball games. I mean, he's gonna come to this Cleveland team. I think he'll be one of the 2 best guards in the East. Just off the top of my head again.
Being who? Him and Trey?
Yeah, I guess so.
Him and Darius?
Yeah, or him and Harden.
I think that they're all fine.
Yeah.
But I think that D Mitch will be one of those players.
Yeah, exactly right. And it's it's a bit like, oh, okay, we've just never really thought about this guy being more than like in that like 6 to 15 range of best players in the league. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we should think of him any higher, but maybe that part of that is like, okay, then you don't have this expectation for sort of personal greatness that can get to idiots like Joel Embiid's head, and you just focus on winning basketball games.
Yeah. Do you have anything for like Darius Garland injury updates? It feels as though he's like...
I just feel like he should be back.
Yeah. I get the feeling that he's like... It feels as though within a week he'll be back.
Yeah,
we're not reporting that, by the way.
Just slap the goggles on him.
Yeah.
Like...
It must be so hard to play with goggles on.
Yeah, legitimately. I know, look what it did to Reggie Jackson. He's the worst point guard in the league.
I'm just going to do return, see if anyone's said anything about that. But just in talking it through all of that, the prospect of the Cavs is even better. Like the idea of like Donovan Mitchell having a 38.0 assist game next to Darius Garland, who has like 11 and 18 assists.
Yeah.
And then the next night, Garland might have like 27 and 9 assists, and then Mitchell has 15 and 8 or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, that goes back to that system players and the switchability. So I feel like everyone came out of the offseason and be like, sick, I'm going to watch like, 15 Cavs games this season. Yeah. And it's getting better. I think that's the nice thing about it. It's getting better.
And it doesn't feel like... Oh, wait, actually, I'm going to save that one.
Nice, dude. Save it for the pod.
It's a good segue to our next bit. But the last thing I want to say about this is Karis LeVert looks good again.
Yeah.
Don't look up what his field goal percentage is, but his 3-point percentage, 48%. Wow, that's great.
What's his field goal percentage?
That's 33.3333.
33?
Yeah.
Wait, field goal?
Yeah.
And his 3-point is 48?
Yeah, he's just missing layups.
Wowza 3,000.
But also averaging almost 7 assists, looking good on defense, not getting turned around. And yeah, again, like without their main playmaker in shouldering a lot more of the playmaking, you know, helping Mitchell shoulder the playmaking duties. If you're two backup, quote unquote point guards averaging 7 assists each, like it's pretty good. You're getting a lot of passes to the right people. So yeah, I don't think this is going to be a sort of subtraction by addition thing when Garland comes back. It's not going to be like these guys have to learn how to play next to each other. Now, I think that's in stark contrast to our last team, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are having a lot of subtraction by addition at the moment, I think. Do you want to kick us off with these guys?
I would love to kick us off with these guys. So they haven't played a basketball team yet.
I think this might be the easiest opening 7-game stretch in league history.
Absolutely. And just as a little spoiler, I'll share it now. I'm making my first video for the Deep 2 film room, and it's going to be about what the Minnesota Timberwolves can do to maximize what they have. I think that... So, yeah, the start of their season, they've had OKC, OKC, San Antonio, the Lakers, and San Antonio. Which is not... They've had 7... They've played basketball 7 times, but not against a single opponent.
Yeah. There are 6 teams that are supposedly tanking in there, and then there's the team with the worst record in the league.
Yeah. So yeah, I feel like if you're a contender or a pretender, or if you're just like a team that takes yourself seriously and you've hemorrhaged all your first round picks for an all-star, then you need to come out of that 7-game stretch as... I want to say 5-2 at the worst, but 6-1 at the worst.
Yeah. 5-2 is like there's growing pains here, but there's nothing to worry about because there's still so much talent here that we're just going to win games that we're supposed to win. 6-1 is like good, perfect. Yeah. 7-0 actually you wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. 6-1 is like you burnt tonight.
Yeah.
You had an off night.
Exactly.
Davion Mitchell. Now I do think that most of it is. I think most of it is Chris Finch because he had like a really good team last season and he had them working great as a team and they would just like routinely go on a run that would just build them a buffer and end a game. And you know, then maybe that comes with them all gelling together as players. But I just get the feeling he's been a bit rigid to start the season, and that also might be not only being a coach. But like you know, coaching a new cast of players, but also managing the players as well. So I think that's the thing for the growing pains for me is the managing the players for Chris Finch. But I also think the other thing that I've uncovered in watching these Minnesota clips is that Anthony Edwards only has any purpose when he's looking for his own shot.
Yeah.
When he's running the offense, it's like he doesn't want to play.
Yeah.
It's really bad. I think.
It's really bad. Like, there's no will to involve anyone else in what he's doing. Any screens that he's calling, any passes he's making, he's thinking like, okay, I'm going to get the ball back and then I'm going to get a bucket. We said that he didn't look very good. He's had a fine start to the season numbers wise, but yeah, you're right. Like the sort of attitude that he's bringing, especially to this team now, where like, okay, you're a wing, but you're kind of playing as a guard in this offense, and you have 2 7-footers who they need to be involved.
Yeah.
You need to involve them. Obviously, Cat can like make his own shot to a degree. I'm like doubting more and more and more like how good that degree is.
Yeah.
But Rudy Gobert is nothing. Like he's just completely useless on offense unless you're involving him. And we saw that with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell passed to him what was it?
It was less. He passed to Gobert less times than Trae Young had assisted to John Collins. I'm pretty sure.
Or Clint Capella, I think it was.
Oh, Clint Capella, yeah.
Which is absurd.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, obviously, Anthony Edwards is less of a sort of, play initiator than Donovan Mitchell is, but he has to be on this offense, and we're going to see those numbers later in the season where it's Anthony Edwards has passed to Rudy Gobert 5 times or something like that. And I'm actually really starting to doubt, I've had these doubts for a while, if Cat can be like on the floor when you're trying to win a game. So like obviously there was Anthony Edwards said in like a post-game interview, like all of our best lineups, the lineups I played in best last season were smaller lineups without Cat on the floor, and now he's got 2 7-footers who at least one of them will be on the floor at all times. Yeah. And what you're saying about them going on a run and winning a game, like what I remember is having like D'Lo and Jaden McDaniels, Vando, someone else, like all out there, and just playing that like just really fast ball movement, like just up and down. That's when they like sort of took games, if they weren't already winning a game by Cat having 5 3-pointers and 14 rebounds and blah 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 blah. That's what they would throw out to win the game, to bring it closer or to get ahead. And it's just not possible now. Like you just can't do that. You just can't have Rudy Gobert and Karl Anthony Towns sitting on the bench at the same time.
Yeah, but I feel like you can still get those runs.
Yeah.
I feel like Gobert is such a good defender, and he's turned into a really good rebounder, a great rebounder. Yeah. But I feel like those fast break situations, half the time it was just like outlet to a guard, one dribble, hit Ant, running down the other end of the court, and he would just dunk from wherever.
And Rudy should be able to do that. Like he can grab a rebound and outlet it. Like that's not a problem he has. Like like he's not going to do a Jokic style football pass to Ant down the other end. But like if you have someone who's going to block a shot and then get the rebound, like you should be at an advantage in fast break situations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the other thing I found in watching the Timberwolves in the early season is that they've got the personnel like on the court. They have the playmaking and the scoring, but they're not using the playmakers as the playmakers.
Yeah, right.
And you know who's a fucking really good playmaker, man? It's the feline. It's Cat. He is a great passer.
Yeah.
And he wants to pass.
Yeah.
His only issue is that he gets way too cute sometimes and just throws horrible turnovers. He's always been, I don't want to say he's been like weak, but he's had horrible footwork throughout his entire career. And it's, when you're coming up against a 7-footer who's 250 pounds, whatever that means, 120-ish kilos, and they're just sitting there bracing, and you're not going to come with like perfect footwork and then also a nice bump into them. You're not going to move them. And so with Gobert being inside, it's pushed Cat out a little bit more, which I think is better for him.
Yeah, it should be. That's what he wanted. You know?
He's better as a jump shooter. Like that's just how it is, and like he's a great 3-point shooter. And then also that willingness to pass and that want to pass is great. And he's had so many connections with Gobert in the early season. And Gobert's gravity's been great. His finishing's been great, and the way they've integrated him has been great. Now I think the next step is to integrate his gravity to maximize the rest of the team.
Right.
Because he's had some finishes. There's a play that he finishes a Cat lob, and in the restricted area there are him and three Thunder defenders, and it looks like it may as well be no one.
Yeah.
Like he just finished it with such ease. And I just think that they need to now use that gravity for the benefit of the whole team. Not just Gobert.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like I haven't seen so much success like when Cat and Rudy are on the floor and Cat's kind of like, operating the high post, like looking for a pass or whatever. But yeah, like that, I think that's got to be a game plan. Like if you want to have them both on the floor in the same time on offense, like it's like, okay, it should go through Cat. You can't have Cat sitting in the corner and Rudy sitting in the dunker spot while Anthony Edwards fucking dribbles it around for 12 seconds. Because that's just not maximizing either of their skill sets, really.
Yeah. Well, I feel like I've fucking waffled on for long enough there. What are you seeing from the Wolves early season? What are your worries for them?
I just think they're just gonna heavily regret this trade. Like,
really?
Yeah. I just think, like, if they're not immediately getting this regular season success that we were all so sure about.
Yeah.
And like, I think it's definitely the coaching. I think it's definitely like Cat and Ant's kind of, I don't want to talk shit, but like pretty subpar mindset about some things.
Yeah.
Like, probably especially like what you're talking about with Ant, about like how he wants to play basketball. Like it's just, you're gonna have to play next to an elite playmaker. Like if you want to maximize Anthony Edwards, I think. But I just think if they're not getting that regular season success straight away, we know that it's going to be a problem in the playoffs. Then, I don't know, if you come out of this season and you've won like 44 games and you get eliminated in the first round, like, that's a huge reason for concern.
Yeah.
If you're not automatically winning 49, 50, 51 games every season for the next 5 seasons, and then you can just kind of figure it out in the playoffs, like what you do differently to win a 7-game series. If that's not sort of like the basis that you're going off, if you're having to struggle to like figure out how to fit all these players together, it doesn't really work. Like you kind of fluke, like you get some unrepeatable circumstances and stuff like that. Then what hope do you have of winning a championship?
Yeah. Do you feel as though this roster can win a championship?
I think so. I just don't like the Cat and Rudy fit.
Yeah. Well, because what I was thinking was they got like 11 good pieces, but you don't want 11 players playing in your championship rotation. I think they could upgrade a wing. I feel as though Kyle Anderson and maybe a couple of these younger guards you could turn into another, probably your best wing.
Yeah.
I don't know who that player is off the top of my head, but I think that. Yeah, you could upgrade, one or two of those wings and then a young guard, and you probably could, you wouldn't be able to do any picks. but for like your best wing,
What would you think about like a kind of bit of a stopgap Jay Crowder trade?
Oh, that's such a good call.
Yeah.
For the Wolves.
Yeah. I don't know who goes back to Phoenix, like who they'd want here.
I don't think you can trade Kyle Anderson for a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think they want to trade Jaden McDaniels.
No, you don't move McDaniels.
Yeah.
I think potentially Taurean Prince.
But he's just sort of like a worse Jay Crowder, so it's like...
Yeah, but that actually could be nice to have that. No, to have that switchability. If Jay Crowder gets 6 fouls, it's like, okay, we'll put 0.8 Jay Crowder.
Yeah.
So maybe it's you don't fucking get rid of Jalen Noel.
No.
He's been so good in the early season.
Yeah.
I think unfortunately you have to get rid of Jordan McLaughlin, who's great. I think he's a great backup guard. But if your guard play is already D'Lo, Ant, Noel.
Yeah.
And then I would say Bryn Forbes is less good than Jordan McLaughlin, but I feel like the Suns will...
If your fourth guard spot's being taken up by a combination of Bryn Forbes and Austin Rivers, like you're not going to jail. Like you're surviving.
Yeah. And you're addressing your issue in bringing in Jay Crowder.
Yeah, yeah. I also just remembered, it's just so funny how they kind of look good when it's just Naz Reid as the big on the floor.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah.
He went on a 7-point solo stretch against the Spurs the other day.
Yeah.
And I was actually talking with Doc about this. I guess they both work, whatever. Who's a resident Wolves fan. Well, not resident, we've got a few Wolves fans. But yeah, we were talking about like he had like one nice finish and then he had a Euro and then he had a 3.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a catch and shoot 3. It was like, I'm feeling myself. I'm going to take this 3. It wasn't like a... Yeah, and like that like superstars mindset coming from your backup center.
Yeah.
He's so dependable. So I think, the bigs are great. The guards are great. Good to great. The wings are good. I like Jaden McDaniels. If I was to like build a championship roster and you tell me one of my 3 wings was Jaden McDaniels, I'd be
really
like,
happy about
cool,
that.
that's a really good start. But I just think that, I think that it's a bit shaky otherwise.
Definitely. And I think now, the more we talk about it, I think Chris Finch is still coaching this team like Rudy Gobert isn't on the roster. You know, like when we talk about how good they look when Naz Reid is the lone big on the floor, it's because like he's used to playing like that, and the players are used to playing like that. Like, you know, you take Cat off, you have a nice bit of small ball, you bring him back on. But yeah, like I'd love to say that this is just growing pains. Yeah. But like there's a lot to figure out.
Yeah. I feel like that was a good place to end it. But but you and Sean gave me this little pro tip in making my video for the Deep 2 Film Room. But, you know, the amount of assets they put into Gobert and then the 8 figures that follow the dollar sign. Yeah. It's not, you can't.
Yeah, you can't be 4-3 with a 7-0.
And looking your best with Naz Reid as your lone big.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of big talk tonight or today or whenever you're listening to this freaking basketball podcast, and it's not going to end now. Wow, I had to clear my throat like 20 words before just then. Myles Turner, what a weird thing that just happened.
So Myles Turner's gone on the Woj Pod, as you do. Basically been like, I think the Lakers should trade their 2 first-round picks for me. And he didn't mention him, but like you're assuming Buddy Hield as well. Yeah. Which, I mean, my immediate reaction is that tampering to be like, trade for me in public?
I get the feeling that if it's a player...
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so weird.
But like, because, okay, we look down on it, but you can signal when you want to be traded. You can be like, I'm not happy here, I want to be traded. But it's pretty weird to be like, I think it would be good for the Lakers to trade for me. Like, I'd be a good fit there.
Yeah. So, he was on the Woj Pod, and there's a 50-second clip of it on Twitter. Yeah. It'll be all like over most social medias. And it's like the most rehearsed, deliberate 50 seconds I've ever heard of a podcast. Woj just fully lays it out there. He's like, so what does he ask? Is he like, so it's basically to the effect of
I'll be upfront with you, Wayne.
Yeah. Like, let's not beat around the bush. Should the Lakers trade those 2 picks for you? And then he just, his response is very weird. But also, it's, you know, the crux of the shot is yes, they should trade for me. They should use those 2 first-round picks to trade for me.
And like, you know, let's talk about like the actual trade first, because then I have a lot to say about like the kind of media situation that's arrived, you know, that this has come out of. But like, yes, the Lakers should definitely trade for Myles Turner and Buddy Hield if they can. Yeah. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, no, like absolutely. There's no question.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, they're terrible, and you know, getting 2 shooters really, and one of the best sort of volume shooters in the league in Buddy, and then, you know, a guy who he's probably one of the few guys who I actually think would be a really good fit at the 5 next to AD.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've thought about this quite a bit. I was just wanting to see if there was actually like a just a full-blown trade, like a screenshot of a trade. Yeah, right. Involving all these pieces. But you would assume that it'd be Russ 2 picks for Turner, Hield, and then you'd have to... I mean, fucking whoever else you want to take from the Lakers.
There's so much salary on that,
but
on
like,
that roster still.
however many young players you want to take from the Lakers, are any of them worth anything?
Yeah, I think. I mean, if you're the Lakers and you're going to trade away your last 2 first-round picks, then you want to get one forward-looking player. You want to get a 20-year-old who can just sit on the roster until LeBron does whatever he does and Anthony Davis retires in 6 months' time. So because really there's no one on the Lakers roster who's like you can see playing for them in the next 4 years.
Yeah. And if they were to bring in Myles Turner, so their current issue I find is that they don't have any wings, or any wing depth. LeBron's a wing. That's kind of it. Troy Brown Jr. can be a wing, but he's too passive, and he's also quite. I think you need a bit more bulk.
Yeah, they end up playing like Matt Ryan.
Yeah,
and Lonnie Walker like all the way up at the 3, and it's
all
just,
the way up.
It's just it's ugly.
Yeah, and on the topic of Matt Ryan, I really think that the Lakers, and this is not a joke, they should look at getting Garrison Matthews from Houston. Yeah, who is just like. He is at the very least actually a 3-and-D player. To whatever magnitude you want to say that is, that's not something that the Lakers have. Yeah. Maybe Austin Reeves. Maybe. Yeah. Like Matt Ryan is the 3, no D. Yeah. And then they got a couple of they should be profile as good defenders, but without the 3. Maybe I'm being harsh on Pat Bevan. He's had a slow start to the season. But if you're to bring in Myles Turner, back to my original point. Yeah. I agree that he's one of the 5s that would fit next to AD because he brings shooting as well as someone that wants to play the 5, which I think is the most important thing of the 5. Yeah. See Anthony Davis, the issues that he brings. But then that turns your wing depth for the Lakers into LeBron, AD. Then that next wing doesn't have to be that good. Because if those are your 2 premier wings, that's a fucking great start. Yeah. And then you have to look for a backup center. That's cool. You can make that happen. I'm sure Dwight's still in the waivers somewhere.
Yeah. I mean, if you have Myles Turner, Damian Jones' minutes become a lot less painful as well. Yeah.
And then Thomas Bryant eventually will be back and healthy. But if Myles Turner and then backup center 1 work, but the Lakers don't, then it's fucking AD's fault. Yeah. It's 100% AD's fault.
Yeah. I think it's just like, all right, if I tell you that a basketball team they won't be named, have a starting lineup of Patrick Beverley.
That's okay. That's an okay start.
Buddy Hield.
Well, that's a good start.
LeBron James.
Hang on. That's a great start.
Anthony Davis.
Okay.
And Myles Turner. And then you have Kendrick Nunn coming off as the first guy off the bench. Lonnie Walker, suddenly he's maybe your 7th best player.
And not 3rd or 2nd.
And then you also don't have to bring in Russell Westbrook at any point. You actually don't have to play him any minutes because he's not on the roster of this team. Yeah, on paper it's the best looking Lakers roster since they won the championship, basically.
Yeah, and absolutely. And then you factor in whoever that backup center is. That's an 8-player rotation. Maybe you get Troy Brown Jr. to play 8 minutes a night.
And Austin Reeves actually will. Oh yeah, he'll be really good when he only has to play 20 minutes.
Or Garrison Matthews. Yeah, I really think that's a good idea for the Lakers. But then that ninth.
You just can't be Alex Caruso.
But then that 9th player of the roster becomes a decision that you get to make rather than a decision that's made for you.
Yeah, it's like, who are we going to play tonight? Is it going to be Wenyen Gabriel, or is it going to be Matt Ryan, or is it going to be fucking... Oh my God, the players that have played for the Lakers this season, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah. But I think that, weird... Actually, let's go back to the tampering side of things. Go on.
Well, because, it's not really tampering because, the Indiana Pacers want to trade Myles Turner. Yeah. And Buddy Hield. I think they want to do this trade as well. And I don't think kind of logistically a player being like, I think you should trade for me. I think this trade that everyone's been talking about for ages would be a good trade for you and for me. Yeah. I don't think there's anything really shady about that. Yeah. What I do think is shady is just how sort of manufactured all of this shit in the NBA is. And I really think it focuses on the Twitter addicts, Adrian Wojnarowski and Shams Charania of The Athletic, where it's just like the only reason you invited Myles Turner on this pod is to promote this trade idea. and then he reads this fucking like scripted response.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, Woj, you know, he reports on trades and movements and stuff like that. So of course, when you get players on, that's always going to be in the picture. Like, you're not getting, you're not getting Donovan Mitchell on and being like, hey, you've been playing really good basketball this year. Yep. All right, well, see you next week.
Yeah.
It's focusing on like all this front office stuff, but it's just the kind of barefaced way that these guys just sort of will broadcast exactly what a team wants them to broadcast.
Yeah.
Like, it's not reporting. This is PR. This is PR for the Indiana Pacers, you know, trying to increase their chances of getting those 2 picks. And maybe in a way that's how it would be tampering. And yeah, we saw it last season with like Shams just reporting all this stuff from Daryl Morey about the Ben Simmons trade and being like, oh no, they're happy to just sit on him. They're just happy to sit on him. They're happy to sit on him all day long. Like, they're actually completely fine with that. And then of course, Morey formulated the James Harden trade eventually comes up. But it was just with so much help from the media.
Yeah.
And these journalists who are just really happy to just take talking points, I think, from front offices.
Yeah. I think that, I feel like Myles Turner, if you've seen your name in this trade for like however many years now, I don't hold anything against him. I think there's a duty of care that Woj and Shams just ignore sometimes. Yeah. And I think that it's hard when you're like not only a reporter but a news breaker. Like you've got a few hats to wear. So I don't know. It's just I feel like being able to switch from one to the other must be hard. But yeah, like you said, this early in the season, what are the stories so far? The story is not Myles Turner.
Yeah.
He's played 3 games, averaged 13, 7, and 2. It's very much a manufactured story. It's not like like you said, it's not like he's bringing in Donovan Mitchell. Like, how have you had such a successful start to the season?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you credit it to?
Yeah. And you know, I think it's just the way that the media is. I think it is just completely a result of that sort of, you just have to report things as soon as they happen. And like the easiest way to be the guy who, you know, hit send on the tweet on the blockbuster trade of the summer first is to just like have a really good relationship with front offices.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, hey, Woj, so we want you to have Myles Turner on and we want you to ask him about a trade with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Of course you're going to say yes. You're not going to be like, hell no, I'm not doing that. I have too much journalistic integrity. And then, you know, Shams tweets out 5 hours later, like, Myles Turner has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers for Russell Westbrook and 2 first-round picks. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sort of... I'm not rinsing on Woj as a person, but like that I think that role in the media that has sort of been created by everyone needing to know about the absolute up-to-date of trades and free agency movements and everything, it's really toxic.
Yeah. Do you think it'd be good for the league if Myles Turner and Buddy Hield ended up on the Lakers?
I mean, yes and no. Like, I'm just so happy for the Lakers to be bad.
Yeah. Because
they've made really, really poor roster decisions. And I think they had a really bad attitude, like, after they won the championship, of like where they wanted their team to go. Like, they had so many role players and young players who helped them win that championship, and they were like, nah, we just want to upgrade. Like, LeBron wants to work less. Like, I think there just should have been so much more like, look, LeBron, we're a basketball franchise and we're going to be here when you're gone. I'm not saying that he did all of this, but like, we need to keep guys like KCP and Alex Caruso, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm happy for them to be bad. And also, you know, we do own their pick next year, so maybe I'm a bit biased. But also, on the other hand, it's also like, yeah, the Indiana Pacers should be able to trade away these players, get picks for them, and if LeBron's on a better team, that is better. That is better for the league. It's better to see LeBron in a winning situation. Yeah,
because I guess, I think that's the thing you need to look at is like the Pacers and the Lakers are involved. The Pacers are a tanking team, so them getting worse is the aim. It doesn't really affect the league, but the league kind of gains a contender in the Lakers if this trade is to be made.
Exactly.
So I think I like it. I think I like it for the overall league.
Definitely, I think the trade should happen. But yeah, it's just the fact that it has to be manufactured in this way when probably in about 10 games the Lakers will be sick of Russell Westbrook and they'll do it.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
Would you like to guess before we sign off? Would you like to guess what Myles Turner's nickname is on basketball records?
I have no idea.
Samurai Miles.
Samurai Miles.
Yeah.
I kind of get that.
Oh, cool.
All right, well, we said we'd do a short one, but that's an hour. So, Lucas, fun chatting to you as always.
Yeah.
Fun hanging out with you sometimes. I'll talk to you next week.
See ya.